Monday Night Football. The Los Angeles Rams travel to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. I got a player prop, and then we'll talk about the game at the end of this video. What's going on? My name's Austin from Calling Our Shot. Unfortunately, I have to do some bad news here. We got to recap how we did on Sunday, and I did it in the previous video with the Eagles and Bucks. If you haven't watched that one, it was just posted right before that one. You can see my favorite player prop and game pick there. However, we got to do a recap of how we did. That video will be linked at the end of this one and linked down below in the description. We got to do a recap of how we did on Sunday, and I'm always transparent. You'll never find a guy that's just going to avoid, I give out losers. That wasn't me. Now, I sucked on Sunday. There's no way around it. On game picks, went 1 and 2. Only one we cashed was that the Bears over, and then the 3 and 5 on props, losing both of our 1.5 unit plays. James Conner absolutely cooked me. We got wrecked by Bijan Robinson. There were some bad breaks in there. There's some bad reads. I won't sugarcoat that. Some bad reads in there, but some bad luck, man. There could have been 3 or 4 plays that I really felt like should have gone our way, just did not. And it was a terrible week. Like, I'm not going to come up here and make excuses saying, this happened. No one wants to hear that. You guys don't want to waste your time listening to a guy make excuses. Truth of the matter, I got to be better, and we're going to start being better on Monday Night Football. As a reminder, if you want to go check out my favorite picks, I got a player prop and a game pick in that first primetime game, Eagles-Buccaneers, that starts about 1 hour before this one. But let's dive into my favorite player prop. Let's get into it. If you are new, hit that subscribe, and we're going to have a profitable year. We obviously dug a little bit of a hole, but we're going to have a profitable year. We have never had a negative losing season. We were up 24-ish units last year, 43 the year before. We're going to dig out of this hole, and we're going to have a monster second. We're only 3 weeks in. We're going to have a monster night tonight. Win back all those units, and let's get into my favorite player prop, though. Joe Mixon. We're taking his over, the guy on the thumbnail. Over 58.5 rushing yards, -113 on FanDuel. Personally, plays to right around 62.5. I don't think the line goes much higher than that. I think some books had him at about 59.5, maybe 60.5. But I think it's a really good look for Joe Mixon, who, honestly, going into this game, there's some question marks. I'm recording this, 11:18 p.m. Eastern time, and the video will go live right around midnight. I don't know if Joe Burrow is going to play. So on one hand, if Joe Burrow, let's assume he plays, which I am assuming Joe Burrow plays. Let's assume he plays. The Rams obviously got to respect the pass a little bit more. Joe Mixon should have a little bit more, wiggle room on the ground. However, maybe Joe Burrow does not play. Well, on the same side, they're probably going to have to run the ball a little bit more. Maybe Joe Mixon sees a little bit more attempts. So either way, I'm not too concerned about Joe Mixon, regardless of if Joe Burrow is active or inactive. I expect him to be active. Joe Burrow's always been a gamer, but even if he doesn't, I'm not too worried about it. Maybe you get a better line if somehow Joe Burrow goes out. But let's talk about Joe Mixon, because that's who we're talking about. We need 60 rushing yards, technically 59 out of him on Monday night. Let's look at his game log so far this year. You saw week 1, 13 carries for 56 yards. Week 2, 13 carries for 59 yards. Nearly 2 identical games. His rushing attempts line set to 14.5, and it's juiced on the over, something he hasn't hit in either of the 2 games. But you look at the fourth quarter, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. In week 1, 2 carries for 2 yards in the fourth quarter of that game against the Browns. And then week 2, 3 carries, 17 yards in quarter 4. So look, both of those were terrible game scripts. You remember a week 1 game, they got smoked by the Browns 24-3 in a bad weather game. And then in week 2, they were down the whole entire game with the Ravens, and they were down 10 at the start of the fourth quarter. Hence why you only saw 3 carries. If this game has positive game script, or heck, even neutral game script, if the game's tied, if they have a lead, then Joe Mixon could get the ball even more. If they even have a tie or something close, we would see even more carries than 2 and 3 that Joe Mixon has seen so far in the fourth. And he's still gotten really close to this line, even won over by the hook on one of those games. So I really do like this matchup. And you think about those 2 matchups against the Browns, a very tough rushing defense. We just saw Derrick Henry get absolutely destroyed on Sunday to this same defense. And number 2 is the Ravens defense. Now the Ravens defense, week 1, they were good. This past week in week 3, they really were missing a lot of guys, so their defense didn't look too good against the Colts, hence why they lost outright, but they still have a good defense, and this is a team that has seen them a lot. But against the Rams, this is a team allowing the second most yards per carry at 5.3 per game per rush attempt. And in week 1, we saw Kenneth Walker run for 64 yards and only 12 carries. That was a terrible game script. They lost by 13-30. And then week 2, Christian McCaffrey, obviously the 49ers, ran for 116 on 20 carries. Now, I know Christian McCaffrey and that 49ers offense is an absolute juggernaut, and the Bengals offense does not look like that good. But so I'm not saying Joe Mixon runs for 100 plus, but we've seen guys be able to run against this team, and I really don't think the Bengals offensive line is that terrible. We've seen Joe Mixon actually averaging 4.4 yards per carry, which is up from his 3.9 that he averaged last year. He's been running pretty hard when he gets the chances, and I think he's going to have plenty of chances on Monday Night Football. I really don't think the Rams offense is going to come up here and go on the road with Puka and Tutu Atwell and all just their talent. I just don't see them coming out here and just smoking the Bengals and putting them in a deficit, which we've seen the Bengals be in the past couple weeks. The Bengals are obviously playing with their lives on the line. They're down. They're 0-2. You know the stats when you go to 0-3. Not a good sign. We saw last year, similar spot. They came out in week 3, dominated that game against the New York Jets. They're back at home in this one. They're going to I think they keep this game close. I think we see Joe Mixon get more than 2 carries in the fourth quarter, and I really do think Joe Mixon's going to be in for a big day. So I'm going to run with his over in rushing yards. I think it's a great spot. I think he gets over 60, hopefully even more than that, 75. Hopefully makes it a no sweat bet. And look, I really do like Joe Mixon's matchup on Monday night, taking his over at 58.5 rushing yards. But let's keep it moving and let's talk about this game. Now, I need to preface this. I don't actually have a game pick. I'm going to talk about how I feel about the game and who I think if it goes over or under. But if you want I don't have an official pick because like I just talked with Joe Burrow, I don't know if he's playing, and I'm recording this before that. And honestly, given how week 3 has been so far to me, I'm not just going to come out here and force a pick because I could think this could go either way. Let's talk about the leans. I do lean Bengals money line in the under 43.5 points. Now, depending on when you're watching this, you might already know if Joe Burrow plays or not, and that's likely going to have a fluctuation of the odds. If Joe Burrow does not play and you think he doesn't play, you might as well lock in Rams money line early. If you think Joe Burrow plays, I imagine the line shifts a little bit more towards the Bengals if he gets called active. So I don't really want to give out a pick here because I don't really know what's going to happen with Joe Burrow. Obviously, the quarterback is the most important position on the field. I do lean the full game under 43.5, but same thing. That could obviously fluctuate a lot depending on Burrow's status, and the books obviously have their guess, but they don't know 100% what's going to happen until the news comes out from Cincinnati. So at the end of the day, I look at this Bengals team and why I lean them on the money line. I think I would still lean them regardless of Joe Burrow's status, is because I think this team has to come out here with a lot of heart and win this game at home. Can't go down 0-3. I think they can beat this Rams team. The Rams obviously have surprised a lot of people. Puka's been an absolute stud, but at the same time, I don't trust their defense whatsoever. And that offensive line for the Rams is not something I really trust. And we've seen the Bengals defense actually play decently so far this year. It's the offense that's really been struggling. They hardly have an offensive touchdown to their name. So at the end of the day, I do lean the Bengals on the money line. I think they get it done. If I were to actually bet one of these sides, I would probably take the under at 43.5. But at the same time, I don't really want to force a game pick, something that I'm not 100% confident in, which hopefully you guys respect, because I don't want to give out picks that I'm not going to put any money on Joe Mixon. I got money on him. On a game pick for this game, I'm not going to touch it at all because I think it's just a wacky game. I'm going to root for, obviously, the Bengals because the Bengals are winning. We see more Joe Mixon attempts, more Joe Mixon touches. At the same time, I don't really want to give out a pick just so yet. So these are just leans. I won't track them towards my official record. I won't have a single dollar at either of the side or the total, but I will be rooting for Mr. Joe Mixon when he gets on the field, and hopefully he dominates on Monday Night Football. But if you guys want to let me know your favorite picks down below, definitely go do that. I'm curious who you guys are riding with. Obviously, you probably know what Joe Burrow's status is before I do because, I'm recording this early the night before, but I still do think this Monday night game will be absolutely electric. I think it'll be a really, really good one. So we're just riding with Joe Mixon in this video. No parlays. I don't really want to give it a same game parlay when we've really been losing units. We got to save that money, get a positive day on Monday, move that into Thursday, keep that moving, and keep that momentum going into week 4, which I hope will be a really, really big week. I had some bad breaks this week. I'm feeling good about the upcoming week. But either way, appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. I'm Austin. I'm signing out. If you want to go check out my favorite picks for the Eagles-Bucks, I got a player prop, and I do have a game pick in that one. We know who's starting and who's playing in that one. So go check out that video. It's linked on the screen. Our MLB picks video will be live in the morning. If you want to check out that, a short 4-game slate in the MLB. Let's have a wonderful Monday Night Football. Let's recoup some units, start to build back up that bankroll from this past Sunday, and we're going to have a great 3-0 day. Go check out our other 2 picks in that other video. Let's have a day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.